Hello everyone, welcome to Africa Revealed. My name is Tinashe and today I'm going to present to you 10 things you should know about Gaborone. I'd love to start by claiming the individuality of the country of Botswana and debunk the assumptions that it is a part of a well-known South Africa. Although a quantifiable part of its populace may be of South African origin, not all derive their identity from there. The country of Botswana is of many ethnicities, and if we're going to trace down the history of cultures, we would find that many of these ethnicities originate from a multitude of neighboring countries. However, so much more can be discussed solely on that topic alone, but I intend to dive you into a few things, about 10, to know about the capital city of Botswana named Gaborone. But before we start, I'd like to first thank the returning subscribers. Secondly, I'd like to thank the visitors. If you like what you see, consider subscribing and turn on the notification bell so you can be notified of our future videos. Now, let's head to Gaborone, shall we? The city is awake in the morning. The city of Gaborone is a buzzing and ever-lively city in the early hours of the morning around 6 a.m. as many make their way to work and school. In the morning traffic, there is patience and understanding between drivers, though a few casualties of cars breaking down here and there. We are often taught culturally at homes as a lifestyle hack, and that too a cultural norm amongst young women, to awaken early and do the due duties then. This was to allow for immense rest in the midday when the sun is at its peak. Out of this norm, most awaken early to begin work or school as early as possible because the midday fills anyone with fatigue as the heat is extensive. This has grown embedded in our lifestyles and has become a part of our daily life. At the hours of 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., one can have the savior of having breakfast on the go, a nice round fat cake or flatbread, which is very different from the Indian flatbread if hurrying to work is the main priority. Additionally, many breakfast shops are open and serving breakfast at this hour. Transport is centralized. For any commuter driving from the suburban towns and district into the city, it is advisable to wake up about 2 hours before depending upon the transport schedules of that area. Typically from district to district or city or town to city commuting, 24 to 30 seaters, also known as sprinters, are the fastest to commute with because of their agility to time. However, still there are buses of larger capacities and travel into the city. All these buses, sprinters, minibuses, commonly known as combis, arrive and depart from one place in the city into various other places in the city. This way, one can easily know that if they're at the central point of departure and arrival, they are much exposed to all transport routes to any part of the country. Respect for nature. The country of Botswana is widely known for its exports on beef and beef products. This is because there is a large number of cattle on the land. Culturally, cattle are known to represent wealth and social status and still are today. The average farmer who is able to turn herds of cattle into investment and production is wealthy indeed and is ranked at high social status in the city. Although industrialization and corporate world seem on the surface to have eradicated farm life, the reality is that these farmers are found as the big investors in companies and may hold political influence. Due to this respective nature, cattle are never really held in constriction, but rather respected in the city and whereabouts as part of nature. It is difficult to hear of cattle theft or herd theft or goat theft because they are abundant in the country. The existence of cattle is seen as a normal part of life and regarded as a normal aspect of the nature around us. So much so that even in our urban areas, if a herd of cattle decides to cross the road traffic stops to allow them to cross the road. They are of substantial importance to our heritage and currency and still play a big role in traditional weddings and proceedings. A friendly people. Having grown up predominantly in Botswana, although being a mixture of two nationalities has taught me quite a lot. You see, if friendliness was to be regarded as the greeting of everyone whether you knew them or not, then Botswana are friendly. The importance of a greeting dates back from a culture embedded with the ideas that it is important to greet everyone, for you never know from whom you may seek help and who would help you should life turn a bad leaf against you. I remember back when I was young and not so long ago, when I was in my early stages before 14 years of age, it was normal to be comfortable enough to ask for a portion of sugar or salt or cooking oil on the day you have run out and found yourself unable to reach the shops or failed to buy any. This was temporary, so you may make the meal you make without having to travel distances to buy the ingredients you need and don't have. When you have the chance tomorrow, you just then go stock up on what is missing. It was quite easier to get a lift from a neighbor going the same direction, or a member of the neighborhood going in the same way without the need to pay any lift charges. However, the sadness is that as time goes, our villages are growing into towns, and with development comes a segregation of some sort, mentally and psychologically. With development comes a born malice within minds that helping a neighbor may potentially bring you harm. Of course, this is sad. However, at the heart of our culture, among the olden who knew the culture, is the friendliness and the heart to help. This is contrary to any foreigners I have seen who have never known what greeting a random person in the street is due to their valid reasons, which I cannot dive into. Food. At the center of our everyday life and culture is food. Traditional food is common as Western food. The only difference is that Western pre-made foods or partially made foods bear the heavier price, though still common. Households commonly eat both traditional and Western foods on a daily basis depending on their choices of diet. The staple foods of Botswana from breakfast to dinner are a variety of foods. In the morning, depending on the choice and time, one can indulge in the fat cakes and tea or soft sorghum porridge, traditionally known as motogo, with a special side of thick sour milk and sugar as flavoring, or alternatively have cereal and milk. Lunch can be typical of rice and beef stew or stiff sorghum porridge similar to pap, known traditionally as bogobe, with traditional bean leaves also known as morogo wa dinawa, or with the beans themselves. There are variations or types of the stiff sorghum porridge often served at functions like weddings and funerals, etc. The kinds of meat you can find here are goat meat, cow meat, poultry range chicken, pork, those scarce and expensive meat, fish within due season from the individual sellers of these meats. However, you can still get these at a heavier price in stores. I personally think it is better to buy fresh versions of these meats from the individual grocery stores, small shops that are individually owned, rather than the supermarket stores, simply because you are guaranteed to find fresh meat. As of late, the same can be said for vegetables, since the leaders of the country have found it best to minimize the importations of vegetables from foreign countries so as to stimulate the growth of agriculture in the country and reduce expenses. Many citizens are turning to individual farmers for the sale of these vegetables. The lifestyle. Gaborone is a developing city, still threatening growth into the outskirts surrounding it. With development, lifestyle modifies and the quality of it is increased. Just like any other city, there exists the affluent as well as the not so affluent, but in no way are the lifestyles poor in any aspect. From the availability of water and electricity and the availability of Wi-Fi, prepaid or service bought, Gaborone is a city for the working class. This is why you'll find many holding a 9-to-5 job or temporary employment, internships and student jobs. The city boasts a promising market for digital freelance jobs amongst budding YouTubers and bloggers, social media marketers and copyright writers, and so many more. With the right networking skills and work ethic, one can penetrate the market to make this a career for themselves. Unfortunately, Google is yet to recognize the country as eligible for such production. Thus, the people of this country are flamboyant people drawn to having fun and enjoyment, and so a Thursday is probably known as a quarter to weekend day where many, young and old, prepare themselves and their wallets for a weekend out. People here have no fright of spending or splurging just to have fun and enjoyment. This would explain why concerts and events, or smaller versions of them, properly known as chill sessions, are a great money maker for the ones that make it and the celebrities hired to entertain. Due to this love for excitement and enjoyment, the nation can constitute roughly 12% of its income from alcohol. Additionally, one would explain them as free and others as non-conservative people, depending on your viewpoint and perception. But there is no enjoyment without a braai of meat in all its various kinds, from chicken to red meat to pork. Modern infrastructure. We may not boast competition to cities like Sandton in South Africa, but we boast of our developing city, one filled with boastful modern infrastructure, more especially toward the central business district where most highly marketed business reside and top restaurants are found. We can pride ourselves on the eye towers, the tallest building in Gaborone, where the affluent can find accommodation for rent. Along its street, there is the availability of restaurants and cafes for the ones resident there and the general public. In areas far from the central business district, we can talk about the ever-modern and sleek houses situated in areas like Block 8 or Block 10, close to the Diamond Mining Company and International Airport. Modernization makes its way to the eastern parts of the country with top-tier building designs for homes, adding a touch of elegance to the scenery. We cannot deny the agricultural lifestyle of many Botswana who often commute from the city to their own farms. What Westerners often call the countryside, we simply call the farm. In fact, a movement of permanent living can be seen shifting further away from the city to the farms, where the older generation invests in building modern tiny houses in their farms for retirement, as opposed to keeping up with the busy, hectic lifestyle of Gaborone. Therefore, we can comfortably say that modern infrastructure isn't restricted to the city on its own, but is growing out to the farms as the city expands outwards from its central point. African time. I've often moved between Zimbabwe and Botswana, and one realization I've come to notice is that of the easy-paced, chilled atmosphere that resides in the city of Gaborone. As compared to Zimbabwean cities of Harare or Bulawayo, there is a significant change in the simple movements in Gaborone. Nothing is too troublesome to hasten toward, and there is no benefit one may ever get by simply being too fast-paced in the city. The respect of time and the patience of it, therefore, is remarkable. This is seen even in the public service points throughout the country. General pedestrians walk a tad bit slower than the average Zimbabwean on their way to work. Service points require those in need of service to be patient and await their turn. If anybody seems to find themselves in a hurry, then they must communicate with everybody in the line before them at service points and plead for the allowance to go before them. Without this, the service provider may refuse to assist them. Although quite practically speaking, the only people allowed to jump a line are pregnant women, the disabled, and the elderly citizens. This is their right. It is often said here, if you want something done quickly, then do it ahead of time. If you, for example, may want your passport processed earlier than a week, then simply do it the week prior or pay more for an express passport. If you want to have been served before 10 a.m., then arrive at the service point 2 hours earlier or 30 minutes before if the service is generally known for fast delivery. Punctuality is a result of planning things ahead of the actual time. At any event, should you need the event to start at 1 p.m., tell everybody it starts at 12 noon because they'll most likely arrive at 1 p.m. This is known as African time. However, as the industries grow and corporate businesses expand, this African time is not valid but only seen as incompetence. Shopping. Like I said before, the city is filled with many people who believe in splurging and giving themselves a good time. Therefore, one cannot be surprised that the college students and high school students are in clothing shops buying themselves enough to satisfy their needs and luxurious pursuits. The shopping complexes are thronged and overcrowded, typically around lunch hours, filled with students having a nice lunch before they head on home, or college students buying their own fair share of luxurious essentials to keep up to date with the ever-fashionable demands of city lifestyle. Here at the dense shopping complexes, you'll find young ladies budgeting their future expenses, keeping note of what to buy when they finally have the cash, or the ones ready to spend and appease their needs and wants. More especially, you'll find young YouTubers and influencers eager to create content and young lovers basking in the honeymoon phases of their relationships. Fun essentially costs money, and those who have it enjoy it. Diversity. With the presence of many Asian, Western African, and neighboring cultures embraced in the city, there comes diversity amongst the people of the city. Culturally, we can refer to the many ethnicities brought about by cultural wars of the old in Botswana. We know that percentages of Sotho or Tswana, Ndebele, Herero heritages lay underneath most Botswana identities and formed most of their ethnicities. Similarly, cultures from neighboring countries, Zimbabweans, South Africans, Zambians, Namibians, as far as Nigerians and even Tanzanians and Malawans, etc., become diversified in this country. Due to its many businesses, opportunities, and promising economic growth, many come to venture into business here. Although Botswana have mastered the art of welcoming through their celebrations and eagerness to enjoy community through dance and music, they connect with other foreign cultures and learn more about them in this way. It is in their habit to be a bit presumptuous based on wealth and white privilege, but nonetheless still very much welcoming at heart once they get to know and learn more about you. A plethora of things can be explored and shared as we narrow into personal daily lives and societal norms and practices born out of modernization and development or held on to from age-old culture. In essence, the country and its city along with its people are flamboyant and eager to enjoy life, with many free-spirited people and artistically natured people to enjoy company with. Whether it's a night out or lunch dates and picnics, whether it's concerts, events, and religious gatherings, one is surely able to find comfort and nurturing amongst the people of the city. A city not entirely ripped out of its heritage and nature, but one that is harmonious with it and still embraces the modernization and development that time brings. There's so much more room for growth and digital development and self-sustenance to look forward to in the near future of this country and its city. Expansion and affluence for every citizen to improve the quality of life from where it currently is now. We can only look forward from now. Here we are at the end of our video. I hope you liked it and have learned something new today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you soon in our new video.